Hey guys, Jagras here, and we are back in Gwent, the Witcher card game. And this week has seen the new patch, which released the new faction, the Nilfgaard. So, with the Nilfgaard being released, I've put together a very cheap beginner deck to get some of you guys started with the Nilfgaard, especially as we should expect to see an influx of new players coming in. So, Nilfgaard, they are all about kind of like spying on your enemies and revealing their cards. For example, your starter leader Amir, he reveals 3 random cards in the opposing hand. Then you have the faction ability, which at the start of rounds 2 and 3, you can actually redraw one of your cards in your hand to try and find very specific cards. So it's quite nice if you want to build decks that are about very specific plays, you have the option to try and find those cards. But this is a budget beginner deck, so it's a little bit less nuanced than that, shall we say. Now, in this deck, we have a lot of kind of strong units that we're going to use just to gain strength, basically, and have nice base strength on the board. On top of that, we have cards that reveal other cards, cards that get buffed by those reveals, along with some weather removal, basically just to stop your opponent using their weather. Okay, so we'll start with our gold cards. Each deck can have up to 4 gold cards, but as we're only using basic and starter cards, we have one, and that is the gold card that you start with, Geralt. So we have him in there. You know, he's just got some nice strength. And then we have our silver cards. So the prize-winning cow, again, this is a starter silver card. Basically, it's got 1 strength, but when it dies, it turns into a chort, which has 9 strength. So you play this round 1 or 2, and it's only worth 1, but on the next round, it's then worth 9. So it's kind of like basically putting in some points for the future, effectively. We also have Fringilla, who is a basic starter silver card. She just has 10 strength. She's just kind of tough. Then I would recommend, this isn't a starter card, but I would recommend either trying to find it in a pack or crafting Elbrich. It's a blue, so it's not particularly hard to make, but it's quite useful because you draw a card and they draw a card, but their card is revealed. So you get to see what they draw, and on top of that, it's 9 strength that you can throw down on the board, so, you know, pretty valuable. Then we have our Scorch, destroy the strongest non-gold unit on the battlefield. So then if your opponent plays something particularly strong, this is a counter to that. We have our Demeritium Bomb. Mine is an animated one, and this is another card that's useful to craft. It sets all units on a row to base strength. So if your opponent spent ages just buffing a row, you could then use the bomb to get rid of that. So it's kind of a little bit of counterplay. Okay, then we'll move on to our bronze units. So we've got, 5 different bronze units in here, and a few in here. So we have Nilfgaardian Knight. Nilfgaardian Knight is really strong, but it reveals a card in your hand. So you show your opponent a card, which you might not necessarily think is a good thing, but we have cards that synergize with revealed cards, whether they be your cards or your opponent's card. For example, we have the Spotter. Gain 1 strength for each revealed card in either player's hand. Whilst on the battlefield, gain 1 strength whenever a card in either player's hand is revealed. So first off, you get strength for cards which are already revealed, and then you also gain strength as you reveal a card. So you can synergize the Nilfgaardian Knight with the Spotter, and you can play the Spotter on any row. Similarly, you could play the Nausicaa Standard Bearer on any row, add 2 strength to any other non-gold units on the row. So you can play these 2 cards on the same row. You don't have to play them on the front row, you can play them on the middle row, on the back row, but these synergize quite nicely because you can choose where you put them. And you know, as well as being 5 strength, it's adding extra strength, so it's quite valuable really, if you've got a lot of cards out. Then we have the Alchemist, reveal a random card in your opponent's hand. Again, this synergizes with our Spotter and is 7 strength. And then for a little bit of harassment, we have the Fire Scorpion, remove 3 strength from an opposing non-gold unit. And this actually, once you get a bigger collection, you could replace this. You know, once you get the Mangonels, remove 2 strength from an opposing unit whenever a card is revealed. You know, that's got the synergy with the Spotter and with the Knights and all that, and all the revealed cards that you have in your deck. But the Fire Scorpions themselves aren't bad. Then we have Ambassador, add 12 strength to a random non-gold unit on your side of the battlefield. So this you play on your opponent's side, and then a unit on your side gets 12 strength. So because you give them 2 and gain 12, it's a net gain of 10. Pretty goddamn useful, to be honest. Then we just have our anti-weather cards. So First Light spawn either a Clear Skies or a Rally effect. So what this does is it basically removes weather effects from one row. Alternatively, you can play Rally, and Rally, what that does is it plays a random bronze unit from your deck. So, you know, if there isn't any weather to remove, it's still a useful card. Similarly, we have Blizzard Potion, toggle the weather immunity of all instances of a non-gold unit on that side. So this is a little bit of counterplay because of how prevalent monsters and weather is. Basically, you can make all instances of one of your cards weather immune, or you can remove weather immunity from your opponent's cards. So that's the 1 counter card that we've included in the deck. Anyway, let's jump into the game, and I will try and show you the deck in action.
You shall die, worm.
There is but one punishment for traitors.
Okay, so as you can see, we're going up against Eredin and monsters. So this is likely to be weather, although there is also a consume strategy. So in terms of the mulligan, we're actually looking to find our first lights. Now, the interesting thing about the spotters is actually they, because it works on revealed cards, you could reveal cards on turn 1, and provided those cards aren't played, they're still revealed on turn 2. So spotter, you don't actually have to play on the turn that you reveal cards. So I think what we're going to do here is we'll get rid of one of the standard bearers. We've got another spotter. You know, we can get rid of one. We don't need this many. And I think we'll also get rid of a third spotter, you know, just because then we have a mix of strength. Spotters we can always try and find later on. You know, trying to find that first light would have been nice. But we still have Blizzard Potion, so it's not the end of the world. And we'll wait and see what our opponent plays. And there's the Wild Hunt Riders, and you'll see their weather immunity status here. Previously, they were only immune to frost, now they're immune to all weather. What we're going to do here, I think, is pop down our Fire Scorpion and remove one of his Wild Hunt Riders. And you can actually target this, so if there's anything specific you want to get rid of, you know, you can choose. Let's just get rid of this left one. It doesn't matter, they're all the same. But that automatically brings his strength down a little bit, in case he wanted to play any sort of synergies with those cards, like Lightning Potion. So you can see here, he's played Woodland Spirit and got Fog out. We can remove the fog immunity from the foglets should we wish to, but at this stage in the game, it's not, you know, a huge benefit. I think what we're going to do for this round, I think it's worth forcing some more cards out of him at this point. So we'll put Geralt out, just because he's generally quite strong and he can't really be removed, and try and see what else our opponent plays. We're only 5 points behind, so it's not like we're definitely going to lose this round, but I do want to get a feel for his deck and maybe what he's trying to do with it. And it may be worth just, you know, revealing one of my cards and playing the Nilfgaardian Knights, because that could potentially be quite effective here in terms of the number of points. So if we play this here, we've revealed that we've got add 2 strength to all other non-gold units in a row. So this is now revealed. You can see the icon. And he's passed, actually, which I'm surprised by. You know, I only have to play 1 extra card to catch him up, and that's not that difficult. So I think what we'll do... What have we got in hand? We need 6 points. So if we play the spotter, she's actually got 6 strength because of the revealed card in hand. So I'll just play that. And that's us on 34, so we win the round. And then we pass. And the thing with monsters, they keep a card going into the next round. And the way it basically works is, it used to be random, but now they keep the last non-gold card that they played. So he keeps his Eredin, which is probably why he passed there and let me catch up, because he wanted to keep the Eredin for the next round. And if he'd played something else, you know, he wouldn't have kept Eredin. So that was his strategy there. So now we get a little bit of time to redraw. I don't know if there's anything we particularly want to get rid of, actually. I think we'll get rid of 1 Alchemist in the hope of finding a spotter. We didn't find a spotter, but we found a silver card, the prize-winning cow, so that's good. The monsters do now know which cards they're going to keep, so try and keep that in mind. It's not random anymore, guys. The other thing we could have looked for there is Scorch would have been nice, but it is what it is. We didn't get it. There's his Foglet. Okay, cool. So let's put out... I think we can be quite aggressive on this round, you know. Like, we've got cards in hand that are pretty useful, so let's put out the Nilfgaardian Knight. I mean, it's going to show him another one of our cards, which may be kind of annoying. So now he knows we have Blizzard Potion, which is like the one card I would rather have not shown him. Ooh, I wonder what Blizzard Potion does. You can see him hovering it. But we can also give our cards weather immunity. This is the kind of card you would have wanted to kill, to be honest, with the Fire Scorpion. Unfortunately, we can't kill her. She's got 3 strength, but we can remove her weather immunity. So if he does play, you know, Rain or something, then she'll be put down to 1. Alternatively, we have Demeritium Bomb. So, you know, if she gets lots of buffs, we can then remove them with the bomb. So that's also a nice option. I think for now, let's just do some spying of our own. Let's see what he does and get a little peek into his hand. We can see he's got Corinthia and Caretaker. So Caretaker, he can take a card from my graveyard and summon it, which is worth being aware of. Similarly, Corinthia, immune to weather, spawn Frosthound effects. Here what we can do is we can always Blizzard Potion her and remove her benefits. So it's not really terrible, should we choose to do that. The problem at the moment is he's put out a lot of strength. And a lot of, like, weather. So then he can remove our cards. So we're actually in a really tricky position. But what we can do, we'll play this out. And you can see that we got 12 strength to one of our units. So we gave him 2 strength, but we gained 12. So it's a net gain of 10. And it also forces him to play more cards, basically, which is more or less what we're trying to do here. We hope that he doesn't have Ard in hand. Ard, what it'll do is he'll move basically some of our cards back a row, and if they move them into weather, it then removes 1 strength and they die. I think we should just pass here. You know, I want to force him to play out as much weather as he's got, and actually here is a nice time to pass. Plus, I believe he'll keep one of the Wild Hunt hounds, because that was the last card he played. So, you know, this is an alright time to pass. We've got 2 strength, he's got 48, you know, we're not going to be catching him here. Oh, very sneaky. So he killed my cow so that I have the Chort now, which means I won't keep it until the next round. And on top of that, he then keeps the Wild Hunt Warrior going into the next round. So not only do we lose 9 strength, he keeps 7. Though, still not necessarily the end of the world. You know, we could still win this. All the weather gets removed, and we draw a card. What have we got? That's actually pretty nice. Honestly, I'm thinking what we're gonna mulligan here is the Standard Bearer, because, you know, we don't have a lot of stuff we can play in one row, so this isn't as useful as maybe something else. Though it was a revealed card. We've got 2 ambassadors though, so, you know, this is looking pretty spicy, all things considered. He has to go first because he won the round. And unfortunately, you know, we didn't really see the synergy of our reveal strategies this game, but you can kind of see why the deck has a lot of high strength cards in it, basically. Come along, play your cards. I wonder if he's realised it's his turn. I'm feeling like he hasn't realised that it's his turn. Oh, there we go. He's decided to actually play something. You can see him mousing over which cards he wants to play. So he's put out the rain, and this is kind of annoying, but we can, you know, potion our Fringilla should we need to. So let's put out the Alchemist for now.
If anyone asks...
Okay, and he's gonna probably then play this card and move the Alchemist back a row into the rain. That's what I'm expecting him to do. I think Demurity Bomb still count as weather. So it used to be that you could use the bomb and then it would reset units in weather rows. I'm not entirely sure if that's the case anymore, actually. But I'm hoping that it is, because that would be, you know, kind of disgusting. I guess we'll find out.
Of course, my lord.
But if that is the case, we're going to want to Demurity Bomb before we play our ambassadors, basically. So what we'll probably do is try this out and see if it works. Because this used to be the case. I could do this. And there, it did work. Look at that. They lost their debuff from the weather. Which is basically what we wanted to do there. So you can actually use the bomb to remove weather effects as well. So it kind of adds another level of weather counter to the deck. And you can see him looking in the graveyard. What did she do, you know? Well, that's what I did, buddy. We know he has Caranthea in hand and Caretaker, so he can take something out of my graveyard. He's probably considering what he wants to take out of the graveyard. I'd imagine he'll take the Knight, but then it's not weather immune. So that's not that useful. So maybe he takes a Fire Scorpion instead, just because it's worth more. I mean, I guess he doesn't have like a Blizzard Potion or something he could use to counter the weather immunity. So he's just deciding on what he wants to take. That was a poor choice. It's worth 1 strength. I guess he thought it would be worth more because of the revealed cards, but unfortunately for him, no such luck. Alright, let's give him some units. Now we have a 19. I'm hoping he doesn't have Scorch in hand. You know, if he has Scorch in hand, he can, you know, remove my strong units, but we've got another 10 points in hand here, so we're going to be up to, what, 30... 33? Oh, he's got a bomb too! Rude. So rude. Okay, right. Let's try it again. He should have waited. Unfortunately for us, you know... Played more weather. Oh, it plays rain. Oh, so even though we reset the rain, he played more, unfortunately. We can bring our Vigo back up to our strength with the immunity, but, you know, unfortunately for us, what we need to do was remove some of his stuff, and that hasn't worked out for us. So we lose the round. I mean, but it was definitely a close round, and, you know, considering our deck didn't have as many golden cards or legendary cards as him, I think that was actually a fair match. And ultimately, as things go, you only need to be winning one round early on. So as long as you're winning at least one round, you'll make progress towards your daily rewards. And as you get to 6 rounds, you then get enough ore to buy a keg. So you don't necessarily have to be winning to be unlocking new cards. So for a beginner deck, I think this is pretty decent. We'll jump into one more game and I'll try to show you guys a little bit more how it works.
Any last words?
The North shall tuck tail and beg for mercy.
Okay, so unfortunately we're going into Eridan once again. So we're going to be, you know, mulliganing to try and find some of those weather removal cards. So I think what we'll mulligan here is the Standard Bearer, we got an Alchemist, and let's see what else. I want to keep the Ambassador, you know, he was really effective last round as you saw, so it's worth quite a lot of strength. Similarly, the Spotter can synergize quite nicely, and the Nilfgaardian Knight. So maybe we get rid of the other Standard Bearer. I got Blizzard Potion, which is nice. You could get rid of the Fire Scorpion, but removal is useful if he plays something like Sarah. So I think we'll just hold on to it and have the 2 weather removals, and that'll be fine. So let's go. Okay, when removed from the battlefield, spawn 2 lesser golems on the row it was played. So I think what we're going to do is reveal one of our cards.
Notice!
Gaining 11 strength is pretty huge. You know, we've revealed that we can reveal one of his cards. So that's not exactly that useful for him. The other thing, this is beneficial to us, like I said, with the spotter effect. So, you know, that's pretty good. Okay, so he's on 12 now, and he's played a Foglet. What I think we're going to do here, nice and early on, is play Ymir and see what's in his hand. Because the more information we have, the better. So we know he has an Arch Griffin to remove weather from a row. He has weather, though he's just paid it. And he has Corinthia, which also spawns frost. So, you know, there's not a huge amount of point in necessarily removing the frost. But we can pop our Blizzard Potion here. And then maintain the strength of our Nilfgaardian Knight. And this forces him to play more cards should he want to win the round. And in all honesty, at this point, I'm pretty okay with, you know, trying to force the round here. We'll play our Spotter because we've got 3 reveal cards out there. So she's actually an 8 strength. Which puts us in a... Oh, I stand corrected. There was fog. I didn't even see the fog. Oh, that was super dumb. The misplays are real. Whoops. Dumb plays are dumb, you guys. We should have played Geralt and not the Spotter. Although this hopefully gets another card out of him. Oh, no, he passed. Well, if we hadn't, you know, messed it up, it would have been fine. He's going to keep a Well-Taunt Warrior, which is not too much of a problem. How much do we need to win the round? We need a few. Yeah, I need 8. So let's just play this and take one of these out. And there we go, we got the round. So you have to remember that the Foglet gets a point at the end of each round if it's in fog. So if you've forgotten that, you could have miscalculated your score there. And I worked out to be okay. But, you know, I also misplayed my unit in the fog, which was a bit dumb. Don't forget about fog, you guys. It's a silly thing to do. Okay, so I think we're going to open... oh, I forgot we could mulligan, yeah. Do I want to mulligan anything? I'm actually pretty comfortable with this hand. You know, there's a lot of strength in here. We've got some removal. I think we're just going to leave it at that and not redraw. Although the redrawing is useful, you know, if you needed to find like a first light, for example. We're going to open with Geralt. This forces him to play something particularly strong. And, you know, if he does do that, we can then remove it. Similarly, I want him to play Eridan because I can then scorch that. He's played a regular Griffin, I believe. Yep, which I'll just take a card out of my graveyard and put it in his. Not really anything to be too concerned about for us as we're not running, you know, resurrection strategies. Let's play our Alchemist and get another look into his hand. He's got the old spear tip asleep. Okay, so if there's 3 units in the opposite row, he transforms into the awake form, and then we'll find out what that does. Okay, he's got 8 strength, and then remove strength from the opposite row, and then he transforms back. Okay, so it depends on what is on the opposite row as to what he does. More or less, that's kind of what's going on here. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 units revealed. We can actually play the Alchemist and get a third unit revealed. Well, you know, it would remain at 3. Or we play the Spotter now. I think we play the Spotter now because, you know, if he plays one of these revealed cards, then it loses some strength. And then she's not going to be at 8 value. But we are going to play her in the back row because I know he has been running foglet strategies. So even if there is no fog. And previously we should have played our other one in the back row as well. That was really dumb. Okay, so he is debuffing my units. I'm not entirely sure what the point of that was. I guess he's just trying to buy himself some time this round. I'm going to play the Alchemist, and that should show us another one of his cards, so we can see what's in there, which is nice. Go on, play your Eridan. I think he's going to play his Eridan, yep. And this is what we wanted him to do, because then that's the strongest unit on the board, the strongest non-gold unit, so we can then remove it with the Scorch. And we wanted to do that before we play our ambassadors, because if we play our ambassadors, we're buffing our own units, and in buffing our own units, they then could have been scorched, you know, so we wouldn't be able to scorch the Eridan. I mean, we could clear skies here, but because he has... What does he have in hand? Actually, this doesn't do weather, this doesn't do weather, this doesn't do weather. Unless this one card is weather, you know, I feel pretty comfortable playing clear skies on this row. And giving Geralt his strength back. Because that gave me, what, 11 strength back there? So you can see that buff the row. We'll play this. Geralt is now 24. I think we can go all in on this one.
Let's get this over with.
Oh, he's got Igni. Feels bad. So that removes a unit in a row. If the row adds up to 20 or more, it removes the strongest unit, non-gold unit. What have we got in hand? So in hand we have, he's on 36, I'm on 20. This would put me up to 32. So this isn't going to win us the round. I think we pass, basically, and then hope we draw something particularly strong. Like, what would be really nice is one of those Nilfgaardian Knights, or whatever they're called. That would be a nice draw. Fortunately, we can mulligan, so, you know, if we draw something that isn't that useful, we can try and find something more useful. He's got, we can see he's got at least a few points in hand. This is going to be close. Fortunately, he has to go first, so that's the thing. I mean, this is worth 10, so we've got 21. So if he can beat 21, currently he has 9 and this is a 6, which means he's got 15. So if this is worth 6, well, it's worth more than 6, he wins.
Order will triumph. It must triumph.
Hey, we win! Oh, feels bad. And he can see that we're going to win. So we'll pop this here. He becomes a 23. But our opponent places Griffin, which removes weather. And that's the game. Look at that. So there you have it. And you can see, guys, that we were beating decks that had, you know, legendary cards in it. He had Igni, for example, which is legendary. And this is just with basic cards. I mean, when you understand how to counter weather, for example, which is very common at the lower levels. Oh, we'll send him a good game as well. We always send a good game. How to counter weather and how to, you know, read your opponent a little bit. And using the information that you have from revealing cards, then you can have a pretty good time. And that's kind of one of the interesting things about Nilfgaard, is you have so much extra information. For example, I was betting on the fact that he didn't have weather in that last card, which then allowed me to feel comfortable playing the clear skies. However, unfortunately for ourselves, we didn't know it was Igni, and he killed Geralt, which was a shame. It all worked out in the end, though. But yeah, if you've liked this video, you know, you can always hit that thumbs up button, and you can subscribe for more Gwent content, as well as other card gaming content. And let me know in the comments below if you want to see more beginner decks, or if you want to see more budget decks, or... We have beginner, which is really, really basic, and then we have budget, which is like no legendaries, fewer purple cards, and then we'll do more advanced decks as time goes on with more costly cards. But what kind of decks do you want to see? What kind of factions do you want to see? Let me know. And let me know what you thought of the deck in the comments below. I mean, once you've started to build up your collection a little bit, you can start playing all sorts of silly strategies, shall we say. So if we have a quick look, you know, like I mentioned previously, you can run the... where is it? The mangonels instead of the fire scorpions, for example. Similarly, you know, you have options for the combat engineer who toggles resilience. Resilience is basically like, if you give a unit resilience, it stays on the battlefield for another round. So this is like adrenaline rush, but it also has, you know, strength, so it's better. You could run maybe some resurrection strategies, like Vigo Varo. If your opponent is playing units that they're resurrecting, you can use this to remove them with Vigo Varo. Also kind of different kind of targeted options. Once you kind of get some better cards online, you can maybe run something stupid like Tibor Egbrecht. If your opponent has not passed, gain 15 strength. Then your opponent draws a card and reveals it. You basically turn this into, what, like a 22 strength unit. It's dumb. Beyond that, if you like that video, maybe hit that subscribe button. You can catch me live streaming Gwent at twitch.tv/Jaggerus. And you can find me on Twitter at Jaggerus. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!